The numbers came out and tennis fans lost their minds. Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner, the two players who've dominated men's tennis for the past year and a half, winning 9 consecutive Grand Slams between them, just got paid $1.2 million each to show up in Doha. Not to win the tournament. Not to reach the final. Just to appear. To walk through the gates of the Khalifa International Tennis and Squash Complex and participate. And here's the part that's causing absolute chaos across social media. That $1.2 million appearance fee is more than double what the actual tournament winner will receive. The champion gets $529,945. Alcaraz and Sinner get $1.2 million just for being there. And tennis fans? They're calling it greedy, unfair, disrespectful, and a symptom of everything wrong with modern professional tennis. The backlash has been swift, brutal, and revealing. Because this isn't just about money. It's about what we expect from our sports heroes and whether superstars owe anything to the sport that made them wealthy. The report came from La Gazzetta dello Sport, one of Italy's most respected sports publications. According to their sources, both Alcaraz and Sinner received guaranteed appearance fees of $1.2 million to compete at the Qatar Open. That's guaranteed money. Win or lose in the first round, that $1.2 million is theirs. Meanwhile, whoever wins the entire tournament, battling through potentially 5 matches over the course of a week, will walk away with $529,945 in official prize money. Do the math. The appearance fee is 226% of the winner's prize. More than double. Alcaraz and Sinner have already made more money than the tournament champion before hitting a single ball. And tennis fans are furious. So unfair and disrespectful to other players who are competing, one fan commented on social media. The sentiment captures the heart of the outrage. Here are players grinding through qualifiers, playing their hearts out in early rounds, dreaming of winning the tournament. And 2 guys get paid more than the winner's check just for showing up. That doesn't feel right to a lot of people. Another fan went harder. Absolutely absurd. Typical tennis mafia, deciding who gets to be on top. The use of tennis mafia is telling. It suggests corruption, manipulation, a system rigged to benefit the elite at the expense of everyone else. That's a serious accusation, and it's not coming from fringe voices. It's mainstream frustration with how tennis operates behind the scenes. The gender comparison came up immediately. So women are being punished for skipping tournaments, and these 2 guys are getting millions for just appearing out there? That's referencing recent controversies where female players have faced fines or ranking penalties for not playing enough tournaments. The WTA has been stricter about mandatory participation. Meanwhile, Alcaraz and Sinner are getting paid massive sums to play non-mandatory ATP 500 events. The double standard is glaring to many observers. One particularly creative critic wrote, 20 years' time when kids are learning about capitalist greed, and they start giving Jannik Sinner as an example. That's harsh. That's personal. That's turning Sinner into a symbol of everything wrong with wealth inequality in sports. Whether fair or not, that's the narrative emerging from this controversy. The most extreme comment might have been, they need to dismantle these tennis orgs, and I'm serious. It's a money mafia. This isn't mild criticism about a specific policy. This is a call for structural revolution in tennis governance. That's how strongly some fans feel about this issue. But here's the thing that's getting lost in all the outrage. Appearance fees are not new. They're not even uncommon. They've been standard practice in tennis for decades. The big 3, Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, all received massive appearance fees throughout their careers to play at non-mandatory tournaments. This is how the tennis business has operated for as long as anyone can remember. What's different now? Why is this controversy exploding around Alcaraz and Sinner when it didn't around previous generations? Part of it is the specific numbers. $1.2 million is enormous. According to reports, Federer used to receive around $1 million for appearance fees. Nadal got approximately $800,000. So Alcaraz and Sinner are getting more than even the legends received at their peaks. That's new territory. But there's also a social media factor. In the era of Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic getting appearance fees, Twitter and Instagram weren't as dominant. The information about these payments wasn't as readily available or widely discussed. Now, when La Gazzetta dello Sport reports the numbers, it's instantly all over social media. Fans see it immediately. The reaction is instant and global. The transparency is actually a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's good that fans know how the business operates. On the other hand, knowing the details makes some fans uncomfortable with realities they could previously ignore. Let's talk about why tournaments pay appearance fees in the first place. Because understanding the business logic helps make sense of whether this is actually greedy behavior from Alcaraz and Sinner or just smart business from all parties involved. The Qatar Open is an ATP 500 tournament. That's below the Masters 1000 level and obviously below Grand Slams. It's not mandatory for top players. Alcaraz and Sinner could skip it entirely with no consequences for their rankings or ATP standing. They could rest after the Australian Open. They could choose to play Dubai next week instead. They have options. Doha knows this. They know that without a big draw, ticket sales suffer. Sponsorship deals are harder to secure. Television ratings drop. The entire economic ecosystem of the tournament depends on having marquee names that casual fans want to watch. So they make offers. They say, "We'll guarantee you $1.2 million to come play here instead of somewhere else or instead of resting." That guaranteed money reduces the financial risk for the player. Even if you lose first round, you've made $1.2 million. That's compelling. And it works. Sinner and Alcaraz both chose Doha. They're the top two seeds. The tournament now has the two biggest stars in men's tennis. Every match they play will be televised globally. Sponsors are thrilled. Ticket sales are strong. The tournament makes back that $2.4 million investment for both players, many times over through increased revenue. That's capitalism. That's how markets work. The tournament values their participation at $1.2 million each because their participation generates significantly more revenue than that. It's a sound business decision from the tournament's perspective. From Alcaraz and Sinner's perspective, they're getting paid market value for their star power. They didn't demand this money. The tournament offered it. They're simply accepting what the market is willing to pay for their participation. How is that greed? But fans see it differently. They see two players who are already wealthy beyond most people's wildest dreams. Alcaraz has won 7 Grand Slams and tens of millions in prize money and endorsements. Sinner has won 4 majors and signed massive deals with Nike and others, taking even more money from a tournament that could presumably distribute those funds more equitably among all participants. That's the fundamental tension. From a pure market perspective, Alcaraz and Sinner are worth what someone is willing to pay. From a fairness or equity perspective, the system that allows this level of financial disparity feels broken to many fans. The comparison to the Big Three is instructive because it reveals evolution in the tennis economy. When Federer received $1 million appearance fees, that was already controversial. Some fans complained then too, but it was accepted as the cost of getting the GOAT candidate to play your tournament. The value proposition was clear. Federer was transcendent, bringing fans who wouldn't otherwise watch tennis. Now we have two players, both exceptional, both major champions, both incredibly marketable, who are commanding even higher fees simultaneously. The precedent set by the Big Three has been exceeded, and some fans are drawing a line in the sand saying, this has gone too far. There's also generational politics at play. Alcaraz and Sinner are in their early 20s. They haven't paid their dues in the way older players did. They haven't spent decades grinding to reach this level of marketability. They got to the top fast, combined 12 Grand Slams before age 24, and they're cashing in immediately. That doesn't sit well with fans who value the long journey and gradual reward structure. But whose fault is that? Should Alcaraz and Sinner turn down money because they succeeded young? Should they apologize for being good enough that tournaments value them this highly? That seems like an unreasonable standard. The disrespectful to other players complaint is worth examining more closely, because it assumes that the $1.2 million paid to Alcaraz and Sinner could have been distributed to other players instead. But that's not how this works. The tournament doesn't have a fixed pot of money that's being divided unfairly. The tournament is making a strategic investment to increase total revenue. The $1.2 million appearance fees are separate from the prize money pool. They're marketing expenses, essentially. Money spent to attract customers, fans, sponsors, broadcasters to the event. Without Alcaraz and Sinner, the tournament would generate less total revenue. That would likely mean smaller prize money pools for everyone, not larger ones. The other players benefit from Alcaraz and Sinner being there because the tournament can afford better facilities, larger staff, better conditions, all funded by the additional revenue those two generate. That's the economic reality most casual fans don't understand. They see the $1.2 million and think it's being taken from other players. But actually, it's creating a larger economic pie that benefits everyone involved. Now, should tennis restructure to distribute wealth more equitably across all players? That's a legitimate policy discussion. Many lower-ranked players struggle financially. The ADP could implement rules capping appearance fees and redistributing that money. But that would have consequences. Fewer top players at smaller tournaments, less total revenue in the sport, potentially smaller overall prize pools. It's not a simple fix. The women's tennis comparison is particularly interesting because it highlights legitimate gender-based double standards in sports compensation. The WTA has been strict about requiring top players to participate in certain tournaments. Players face fines and ranking penalties for not meeting participation requirements. Meanwhile, ADP 500 tournaments are not mandatory, so players can pick and choose, often influenced by appearance fees. Is that unfair? Probably. Should the ADP and WTA have similar rules? Maybe. But that's a governance issue, not Alcaraz and Sinner's fault. They're operating within the rules that exist. Criticizing them for accepting money they're legally entitled to accept seems misplaced. The anger might be better directed at the ADP for allowing appearance fee discrepancies, or at tennis governance generally for treating men's and women's tours differently. But it's easier to direct outrage at individuals than at complex institutional structures. Social media amplifies these dynamics in fascinating ways. 20 years ago, if fans learned about Federer's appearance fees, they might grumble to friends or write letters to tennis magazines. Now they tweet, and their outrage can go viral, creating perception of massive controversy even if most fans don't actually care that much. Is this a real scandal? Or is it a social media outrage cycle that will blow over in a few days when the tennis gets interesting? Probably some of both. What's undeniable is that tennis operates in a capitalist framework where market value determines compensation. Alcaraz and Sinner have enormous market value right now. They're the biggest stars in men's tennis. They've won 9 straight Grand Slams between them. Tournaments will pay premium prices for their participation. That's capitalism working exactly as designed. Whether capitalism should determine sports compensation is a different philosophical question. Some fans clearly believe sport should operate on different principles: merit, equity, fairness, rather than pure market value. Those are valid concerns about how we want sports to function in society. But expecting individual athletes to turn down market rate compensation because of philosophical objections to the system seems unfair. Alcaraz and Sinner didn't create the system. They're just succeeding within it. The greedy accusation is particularly interesting because greed implies wanting more than you deserve or need. But desert and need are subjective. Who decides how much money a tennis player deserves? The market? Fans? Some ethical framework? There's no objective answer. From the tournament's perspective, $1.2 million per player is appropriate compensation for the value they bring. From Alcaraz and Sinner's perspective, accepting offers on the table is just smart business. From other players' perspective, the system might feel unfair. From fans' perspective, the wealth disparity might seem obscene. All of those perspectives are valid. The controversy exists because different stakeholders have different values and priorities. Some fans accused Alcaraz and Sinner of prioritizing money over competitive integrity. The logic is that if they really loved tennis purely, they'd play tournaments for competitive challenge and pride rather than requiring massive appearance fees. But that's romantic nonsense. Professional tennis is a job. These players have careers that will last maybe 15 years if they're lucky and stay healthy. They should maximize earnings during that window. It's not greedy to treat your profession professionally. It's rational. Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic all did the same thing. They negotiated appearance fees. They chose tournaments partly based on financial considerations. They managed their schedules to maximize both results and income. Nobody accused them of lacking competitive integrity. Why are Alcaraz and Sinner being held to a different standard? Actually, some fans did criticize the big three for appearance fees. But it never reached this level of outrage, which suggests something has shifted in fan expectations or in how these stories get amplified through social media. The class politics underlying this controversy are also worth examining. Most tennis fans are middle or upper middle class people who will never earn $1.2 million in a year, let alone for a week of work. Seeing young athletes making that much money can trigger complicated emotions, envy, resentment, frustration with wealth inequality more broadly. Those feelings get projected onto Alcaraz and Sinner. They become symbols of a system where wealth accumulates at the top while ordinary people struggle. That's not really about tennis. That's about broader economic anxiety finding an outlet, which doesn't make the feelings invalid. Wealth inequality is a real problem. But whether tennis stars are the appropriate target for that frustration is debatable. Another dimension, tennis is expensive to play. Equipment, lessons, court time, travel for junior tournaments. It adds up quickly. Tennis is largely a sport for privileged families who can afford those costs. So when tennis stars make enormous sums, some fans see it as the rich getting richer off a sport that systematically excludes working-class participants. That critique has merit. Tennis does have accessibility problems. But again, that's not Alcaraz or Sinner's fault individually. They're products of the system, not its architects. The tournament organizers knew this controversy might happen. They knew the numbers would leak and fans would react. They decided the business value of having Alcaraz and Sinner outweighed potential PR problems. That calculation has probably proven correct. The tournament is getting massive attention, even if some of it is negative. In marketing terms, there's no such thing as bad publicity. The Qatar Open is being discussed globally. Tennis media outlets are covering it extensively. Social media is buzzing. That's exactly what tournament organizers want, even if some of the buzz is critical. Alcaraz and Sinner themselves have remained silent on the controversy, which is probably smart. Anything they say could be twisted or used against them. Better to let the story blow over and let their tennis do the talking. Sinner opened with a straight sets victory over Tomas Makak. Alcaraz beat Arthur Rinderknecht in 2 sets. Both are advancing through the draw as expected. If they keep winning and meet in the final, that match will be watched by millions globally. The appearance fees will look like a bargain for the tournament. That potential final is actually key to understanding the economics. The tournament isn't paying $2.4 million total for a week of tennis. They're paying for the possibility of an Alcaraz-Sinner final, the two best players in the world, the next great rivalry, meeting in Doha. That match would be worth far more than $2.4 million in global exposure and commercial value. So the appearance fees are compensation for showing up. Their investment in creating marquee matchups that generate massive returns. That's very different from paying someone just to exist at the venue. The runner-up prize is $285,095. Semi-finalists get $151,935. Quarter-finalists receive $77,625. First-round losers get $22,095. So there is prize money distributed throughout the draw. It's not like Alcaraz and Sinner are the only ones being compensated. But the optics are terrible when their appearance fees exceed all of those prize money levels by factors of 10 or 20. A first-round loser gets $22,095. Alcaraz and Sinner get $1,200,000. That's a 54x difference. That looks grotesque on paper, even if it makes economic sense in context. Tennis would benefit from more transparency about how these decisions get made and how the economics work. Most fans don't understand tournament business models. They see headline numbers and react emotionally. Better education about the industry might reduce outrage, or it might increase it. Maybe fans would be even more upset if they fully understood how much money flows through tennis and how unequally it's distributed.
Hard to say.
What's clear is that this controversy won't end with Doha. As long as appearance fees exist, and they will continue to exist as long as smaller tournaments need stars to compete with big tournaments, there will be criticism. The only question is whether that criticism grows loud enough to force structural changes. The ADP could ban appearance fees entirely, force all tournaments to rely only on official prize money to attract players. That would create more equity, but would probably hurt smaller tournaments that can't compete with Masters 1000 prize pools. Many ADP 500 and 250 events would see their fields weaken significantly. Alternatively, the ADP could regulate appearance fees, set caps, require disclosure, mandate minimum percentages go to all players. That might satisfy critics who want more equity without destroying the mechanism that helps smaller tournaments get top players. But any change requires ADP agreement, which requires players and tournaments agreeing on new rules. That's complicated because players benefit from appearance fees and tournaments benefit from being able to offer them. Both sides have incentives to maintain the status quo. So probably nothing changes. This controversy blows over. Fans get upset about something else next week. And the next ADP 500 tournament will pay massive appearance fees to attract Alcaraz and Sinner, starting the cycle again. Unless this moment becomes a tipping point. Sometimes controversies reach critical mass and force institutional change. The volume and intensity of criticism this time does feel different than past appearance fee controversies. Maybe this is the one that finally forces the ADP to act. Or maybe not. Maybe in 2 months nobody remembers being upset about Doha appearance fees. Sports controversies have short half-lives. The next scandal emerges and the previous one is forgotten. What won't be forgotten is the tennis. If Alcaraz and Sinner meet in the final, they'll produce exceptional tennis. 5-set epics with jaw-dropping shot-making and tactical brilliance. Fans criticizing them today will be cheering for them then. Because ultimately, sports are about what happens on the court. The money matters. The business side matters. The equity concerns matter. But they matter less than the competition itself. If Alcaraz and Sinner give us a classic final in Doha, the appearance fee controversy will be a footnote. The match will be what we remember. That's probably what the tournament organizers are counting on. That the tennis will be good enough to justify the investment. That fans will watch and enjoy regardless of how they feel about the economics. That sports entertainment value will override ethical concerns about compensation structures. And they're probably right. Because sports have operated this way forever. The stars get paid disproportionately. The economics are unequal. Fans complain but keep watching. Nothing fundamentally changes. Alcaraz and Sinner will keep taking appearance fees because tournaments keep offering them. Tournaments will keep offering them because the stars generate revenue that justifies the cost. Fans will keep complaining because wealth inequality in sports feels wrong. And the cycle continues. The accusations of greed? They're understandable emotional reactions to a system that does concentrate wealth at the very top. But greed implies moral failing. These two young men are simply accepting compensation that the market willingly offers. That's not greed. That's how professional sports work. Let me see what you think in the comments. Thanks and see you next time.